So today we're going to talk about the 5 things we learned about Zimbabwe's ZIG currency. So if you missed the video yesterday, we took a quick dive into the announcement of the brand new currency called the ZIG or the ZIG, which is Zimbabwe's very own gold-backed currency. So this announcement was made as part of the 2024 monetary policy statement. This was done by the newly introduced Governor of the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, Dr. John Mushayavanhu. Right, so let's get into it. So what was the purpose of this statement? So this statement was produced to recalibrate monetary policy framework, which aims to address the current state of price and exchange instability in the Zimbabwean economy. So the big question is that I'm sure a lot of you listening to this podcast already know the answer to is, what are the issues the governor is seeking to address in Zimbabwe? So it goes without saying that top of the list is runaway inflation, which is currently standing at around 55.3% in 2024 alone. Secondly, the governor is probably looking to address the exchange rate between the bond and the USD, which is somewhere in the region of 26 to 30,000 against the US dollar. This rate is like a runaway freight train. It's been going up and up and up, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon. Now, just to give you a little bit of context, before the elections, I believe the rate between the bond and the US dollar was somewhere around 1:3,500. And today it stands at around 26,000. So it gives you an idea that this thing, this train isn't stopping anytime soon. So, right, it's important for us to understand what's causing these issues that the governor is seeking to address. And number one, and at the top of that list, without going anywhere, is the demand for US dollars in Zimbabwe. That's the number one reason why the exchange rate is out of control, and probably the reason why inflation in Zimbabwe is the highest in the world. And this is what the governor is seeking to address. So let's dive into some of the solutions that the governor has suggested, and let's see what he's got to say. So number one, he wants to introduce a new structured currency. So I'm guessing a lot of you are asking yourselves, what is a structured currency? And I'm here to answer that question for you. So the Reserve Bank is introducing a structured currency, which is generally defined as a currency that is pegged to a specific exchange rate or currency basket and backed by a bundle of foreign exchange assets, potentially including gold. This means that the central bank, the RBZ, can only issue domestic notes and coins when fully backed by a foreign reserve currency or exchange assets that the currency is fully convertible into on demand. Now, I know that's a lot to take in, so let's just try and take it step by step. So what it is essentially the notes that are issued by the RBZ should be redeemable for foreign exchange assets like US dollars, euros, or other assets such as gold, platinum, diamonds, and things of that nature. That's pretty much what he's trying to say there. Now, I know this sounds familiar for a lot of people, and it may sound like you've heard this before. And for me, it sounds a bit like the bond. Because when the bond was initially introduced to Zimbabwe, we were told that the bond will be pegged to the US dollar, and that each bond will be redeemable in US dollars. And guess what? It blew up in smoke. And at no point was anyone in Zimbabwe able to redeem US dollars for bond notes And you can ask anyone. Now, I'm not trying to sound like a ZANU PF hater who's just going against the government for no reason. That's not the case at all. I think in previous videos, I've been quite supportive of the government and some of the things they were trying to do. But I think we have to call a spade a spade. This thing here, I'm not sure. But anyway, let's move on. So how is the governor going to achieve this resurgence of Zimbabwean currency and the Zimbabwean economy? So he said the key step will be to anchor the currency. He said the ZIG shall at all times be anchored and fully backed by a composite basket of reserves comprising of foreign currency and precious metals, mainly gold. So this gold will be held in reserve by the RBZ, and these reserves have been built up in royalties and is being kept in the vaults of the RBZ. Right? Okay, fine. And he goes on to say that these reserves, they comprise of approximately 100 million US dollars in cash and 2,522 kgs of gold, which is worth approximately $185 million. Right? At least there's been a level of transparency in terms of exactly what quantities of gold and cash is this new ZIG currency being created on the backdrop of. So that gives a little bit of transparency, right? So the question is, why is the ZIG only pegged to a combination of gold, forex, and other precious metals? Why not just keep it simple and peg it directly to the price of gold and allow holders of the currency to redeem gold in exchange for the notes that are being issued? It takes away all the guesswork and foolery that is commonly associated with Zimbabwean economics. So let me provide a little bit of context. The governor is proposing that the ZIG will trade against the US dollar at a rate of 1:13.53. Nice and easy. Where is he getting that number from? I couldn't tell you. For context, the South African rand is trading against the US dollar at a rate of 1:19. So off the top, the ZIG, which just landed yesterday, is one of the most powerful currencies in Africa. Hard to believe? Yeah, it is. So the question is, how does the governor justify this? Well, the answer is quite simple. Zimbabwe's gold reserves stand at around 2,522 kilograms of gold, which is around 3 tons for argument's sake. Now, let's take a guess in the comments. Take a guess what South Africa's gold reserves are. South Africa's gold reserves currently, as of 2024, stand at 125 tons. That's around 40 times what Zimbabwe's gold reserves are. So can someone in the comments help me balance this equation? How is this maths matching? How is the ZIG more powerful than the rand? What metric is the governor using? Can someone balance me and maybe give me some insight, because I'm struggling to understand exactly how this mathematics was conjured up. Drop a comment, in the comments. Let me know. But anyway, let's move on to the next point. So the governor went on to talk about the currency conversion and swap. So with effect from the 5th of April 2024, banks shall convert the current Zimbabwean dollar, which is the bond, balances into the new currency, which shall be called Zimbabwe Gold, which is the ZIG. This is being done to foster simplicity, certainty, and predictability in the monetary system and financial affairs. So he goes on to say that the swap rate will be guided by the closing interbank exchange rate and the price of gold as of the 5th of April 2024. Do you know, that's pretty much all I can say to that. The big question here is, what will be the effect of diluting the new ZIG currency with the toxic bonds or the Zim bond? Is this going to dilute the value of the ZIG? You know, surely common sense would say that, you know, if you take clean water and mix it with brown, dirty water, would you drink it? You take clean water, clean bottled water, and you mix it with brown, dirty water. Would you drink it? I think the answer for a lot of people is no. And I think it's actually that simple. You know, this math, it's not mathing. It can't be the same thing. If you mix the ZIG with the bond, you're not going to get the same thing. It's not going to have the same value. The perfect example was the financial crash of 2008, caused by tranches of American subprime mortgages being classified as AAA, when they were actually, for the lack of a better word, dog shit. And these investments were sold to unwitting investors. If the plan is to introduce a shiny gold currency, then don't mix it with the dog shit. If you're going to mix it with the dog shit, then it's going to become dog shit. And that's exactly what happened in the crash of 2008. They took prime mortgages and mixed them with subprime mortgages and created these CDOs, and it all turned to dog shit. And that's exactly what's happening now. If they are looking to create this new currency, the ZIG, they should do exactly that. And simply write off all of the dog shit. And anyone who's left stuck with the bonds, tough luck. It is what it is. I know it's hard to hear, but that's the reality. Because if they don't do that, there's no way they can expect the people of Zimbabwe to believe that the ZIG is anything different from the bonds that we've been using all this time. If anything, it comes across as a cash grab. That's how it comes across. But anyway, let's move on to the next point. And I've totally lost track of how many points I've come up with, but let's keep moving. It's fine. So the new governor goes on to say that his intention, by releasing this statement and these new policies and this new currency, is to promote increased demand for local currency. Right? In short, he wants Zimbabweans to use local currency, because the more we use the US dollar, the more we are stuck in this bad situation that Zimbabwe finds itself in. So the question here is, are they doing enough to increase the demand for local currencies? That's the big question, right? And the short answer is no. Well, at least in my opinion, the short answer is no. And I'll tell you why. Every time I go to City Council to pay the rates or the water, any of the bills, I pay in US dollars. Why? Because City Council encourages people to pay their bills in US dollars. Right? And this is a government institution. Right? Electricity, parking, car taxes, import duty, fuel. The government insists on payment in US dollars. they encourage the people of Zimbabwe to pay in US dollars. So I think it's fair to say that the domestic government policies are the driving force behind US dollar demand in Zimbabwe. And this isn't about politics. I don't think it should be about ZANU, PF, or MDC. Let's not make it political, because it certainly is not. It's about economics. It's about mathematics. And it's about respecting the people of Zimbabwe. And it's about understanding that people in government are working for the people of Zimbabwe, not the other way around. And maybe this is where we've gone wrong as, the people of Zimbabwe, because we've subscribed to this culture of boss, what, daras, and we've allowed people to get into positions of power, and we have failed to hold people accountable. Right? This mathematics, in my opinion, is not balancing. But maybe you've got a different insight and you see things differently, of which please leave a comment and let me know what you think. In any case, I'll catch you on the next one. Nice one.